What is good, everybody? Welcome in to this edition of the Views from the 573 podcast. Hope you guys are doing great today as we roll right along into our NFL previews. Last time, we talked about the NFC East. We kicked things off over there. On this edition, we are going to go to the NFC West, and we're going to be talking about the Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals, 49ers. We're going to tackle all those teams on this edition of the show, talk about what they did this offseason, and also look to what may hold for them in the future here in the 2025 NFL season. So we're going to be doing that throughout the next few weeks until leading off till kickoff with the Thursday night game as per usual and all that good stuff. College will be getting on that here pretty soon. I've just been diving deep into the NFL here, and also been a crazy time here, a lot of different stuff going on. I'm about to head off for vacation, so I'm going to try to get this done along with potentially another NFL division, so that way we can get things going, speed things up. I'm thinking maybe NFC South is probably where I'm going to go to next, but been a crazy few days, couple weeks since we last talked, but yeah, we're going to be diving into the NFC West on this edition of the show. If you guys haven't yet, be sure to keep up with us wherever you guys get your podcasts. All these episodes will be posted on there, so be sure to follow us, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. And also, I'll be trying to post all these, including the college ones, onto YouTube. So if you have not yet, go subscribe, like, comment, share with friends, turn on that notification bell so that way, whenever we post these division previews, you'll be notified when one goes up. Internet willing, So be sure to go check us out on all those platforms, everybody. Other programming reminders really quick. Of course, we got a big time here as far as movies. We got Superman at the time that this is going to be coming out. Is already out in theaters. I've already seen it. I got to see it on a Tuesday night advance screening, so very lucky. Not too much, not to give it away, but I liked it. I really liked it. So we'll be talking about that on two separate pods. I'll have Charles Jones come on and talk about that with me. It's been a while since we did a movie pod. Figured it's a good time to go do that. So we're going to be talking Superman here whenever we can, and then here in the next few weeks after Fantastic Four comes out, Peter will hop on and we will talk about Superman and Fantastic Four. I believe he even talked about the importance of these two films and which one needs to succeed more a while back. So it'll be fun to kind of revisit that discussion after these two films will have been out by that point. So be on the lookout for that here in the next few weeks or so. So let's dive in, everybody. Let's dive in, shall we? I know we're here for football. Let's dive into football here, and let's talk about the NFC West. This division last year, of course, taking a look at it from top to bottom, the Rams winning this division and ended up getting to play the Eagles in the playoffs and giving them a fight in the snow. If it wasn't for the snow, safe to say, they probably would have had a really good shot at winning. You're playing in the snow, it's hard to hold on to the ball. But they gave the Eagles a tough contest. They won this division. And then you take a look at other teams in this division. Cardinals are trying to get to where the Rams are and trying to get on the up and up as they are continually building their team in the last couple years throughout the draft, having some high premium picks. You also take a look at the Seahawks. They made a lot of moves this offseason as well. So we'll dive into those and how big those moves can be for them here in 2025. And then we got the 49ers, which was the shock of everybody considering, how well they've been. They've been the cream of the crop near the top in the NFC for the last 3 or 4 years, with multiple NFC championship runs, Super Bowl runs, and last year they fell flat. And I think you can point out a lot of that is due to injury. So we will be talking about all of them on this edition of the show. And let's dive in, shall we? Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals here really quick. And let's dive into what their off season was, and we'll talk about their upcoming season. So, some of the more notable things that that happened for the Cardinals this off season. No really big notable coaching changes except Clayton Adams, the offensive line coach. That I'd say big, but not like offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, head coach, but he goes to the Cowboys, becomes their offensive coordinator. So you lose your offensive line coach, so you got a replacement there. Other than that, the roster building moves and what happened to the roster this season. They extended Trey McBride. You keep him in house. Gave him a rich contract. You bring in Josh Sweat, Dalvin Tomlinson to help out on your interior. Sweat goes for 4 years and $76 million. Tomlinson went for 2 and $29 million. And then there's a couple other small moves. They brought back Kelvin Beachum. They brought back Baron Browning. Calais Campbell is back in Arizona. He's still in the league here, and it feels like he's been in the league forever at this point. But he's back with the Cardinals. Akeem Davis-Gaither comes in, and then Jacoby Brissett comes in to be the backup quarterback. Among the people that they lost in this offseason, Kaiser White at linebacker, Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols, and then Sean Murphy-Bunting, who is on this roster but is out for the season, out before the season even began. So that is a loss to this Cardinals secondary that I think already had some questions. And then the NFL draft, taking a look at some of their more notable picks in the first round. At number 16, they draft Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. In the second round, they drafted Will Johnson at 47 from Michigan, the corner. At number 78 in the third round, they take Jordan Burch, the edge rusher from Oregon. And in the fourth, they went and take Cody Simon, the linebacker out of Ohio State, at 115. So that is the Cardinals offseason. So let's talk about the Cardinals and how we're feeling about them heading into 2025. So in kind of preparing for them, and I think, again, we'll talk about the NFC South next week. They along with the Atlanta Falcons, are the only two teams this offseason that did not make a move on the offensive side of the ball. And I have a feeling we'll have similar discussions about, Atlanta next time. But Arizona did not make a change on the offensive side of the ball. All their big changes were on defense. And they definitely need to. And also you got a defensive-minded coach and Jonathan Gannon, so that makes all the sense in the world. This Cardinals defense the last couple of years has stunk on defense. Not so bad last year compared to the year before when they were just awful. But last year, still not good. They need to address some things, and they definitely did. You take a look at what all they did, handing out big deals to Josh Sweat, to Dalvin Tomlinson. They also get some vets in there, and Calais Campbell. I think that can be really big considering you got a lot of young guys up front. BJ Ujulari, Darius Robinson, add Jordan Burch to that group, and Zayvon Collins. I think you got, and Walter Nolan, we'll talk about him. You add those types of guys to help out, I think that can go a long way. It does seem like a lot of the front seven guys, the edge rushers and all that stuff, it feels like there's not really a variety. The only one I can think of is Ojulari and Collins. Collins has played linebackers, played edge. So there's a little bit of like, what is he type of thing. But you take a look at these types of guys, there's not a whole lot of variety. Maybe you could call Sweat more of a speed guy, but I don't know. But it feels like they're a lot of the same. But nonetheless, they need some help up front. And that's what they attacked. That's what they attacked all season long. Secondary probably could have used some more additions, I would say. You didn't know about the Sean Murphy-Bunting injury happening. You didn't know that was going to happen. That might mean more immediate playing time for somebody like Will Johnson, for him to come in right away and play day one. So that could be big for him. This defense, though, it did see a lot of additions to this front. Simon at linebacker was a leader at Ohio State. He's probably going to make an impact, whether on special teams or helping out at linebacker. Birch, I imagine, will. Um, it feels like him and Darius Robinson are kind of the same, but Robinson, it's going to kind of feel like a rookie season for him because he didn't get to play a whole lot last year. There's on-field stuff, off-field stuff where he didn't get to play a whole lot, just things going on in his personal life. So it just felt like, this is going to be kind of like a reset, like his true rookie season, and see where he lands this year. And, you also throw in Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. And listen, I like the swing for upside for Arizona here with their first two picks. You get Walter Nolan at 16. This guy has a lot of untapped potential. Was a guy that was top 5, number 1 overall type of recruit coming out of high school, went to A&M, goes to Ole Miss. If he can get it figured out, then this guy can be a game wrecker up front. And maybe, I don't know, because Jalen Carter's already really good, he could be that type of guy. And I think, doing what he did in college and not having that fully untapped potential realized at college, I think having somebody like Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson, two vets in that room, can really teach them how to be a professional on the field, off the field, can really help them realize that. And I think that can be really good for him. I think that's really good for him and being able to get to where he wants to be as a pro, being a true game wrecker in the middle of this defense. So I think that's a smart move by Arizona there and swinging for upside here. And Will Johnson at 47, like, it's a 47th pick. And you got a guy that was a projected top 5, top 10 pick at this time last season falling all the way to you. You're going to swing on that every time. If it doesn't work out, fine. If it does, holy cow. Like, you get a guy like him at 47. And, there's some medical stuff that was brought up during the draft process and, like, his long speed as a corner. This guy is, he can play. He can play. And I imagine with Murphy Bunting out that he's going to see, again, some immediate playing time. So you like the swings for upside there. If you hit on those two guys, immediate impact players are right from the get-go at defensive tackle. You get a interior pass rush, and then you get a guy that can cover and lock down one side of the field. If you're able to get that, if you're Jonathan Gannon, you're feeling golden about that. If nothing else works out, if Birch and Simon work out, and what, honestly, if one of those guys even works out, Nolan or Johnson, it's great because you got an immediate impact player, and you can say, like, hey, who's the good players on this defense? You can point to one of those guys. So this defense, they really need to add, and they did. The offense, I feel like they definitely could have needed to add. They didn't add anybody, but I feel like you just take a look at the offensive line. I feel like there could have been some additions there. But also their offensive line was hurt, a lot last year. They were banged up, and so maybe the thinking is, hey, we were banged up last year. Let's get all those guys out there, our 5 best guys, and let's roll with them, and let's see what we got. And then next year, go and figure out, okay, here's where we need to add. If it's something like interior help, you go address one of the tackles. You can go and do that next offseason. So maybe that's the case here. But it sounds like they're banking on development from Isaiah Adams heading into the second year, on Paris Johnson still developing really well. And you're also counting on the health of that offensive line, of that group, staying healthy, from Jonah Williams to Will Hernandez, who was banged up last year. So I think you're banking on a lot of that. And then at receiver, I feel like they could have added they could have added somebody else. I feel like there's no really true field stretcher in this offense. Michael Wilson is not that, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is not that. It felt like that at times last year, and he had a solid season last year, but was overshadowed compared to the two LSU receivers in Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. So I think this year you're hoping, if you're the Cardinals, that he takes that step to where he's like, okay, that's why he was a coveted player at his draft slot. So I think they need to add somebody else there and not have him be like a stretch threat, because that's not his game. That's not his game. He can't be like a guy that just says, "Hey, go run verticals." Run go routes, all that stuff, deep posts. Like you can't have him do that. As a guy that is not, he's not like, that's not his game. So I feel like there could have been an addition there to really help at a speed threat, a vertical threat that can stretch the field and can help guys like Marvin Harrison, can help guys like Michael Wilson out. Run game, I am kind of worried about that part. James Conner and Trey Benson, they were good last year. Conner's been pretty good for Arizona. Losing Clay Adams, I do wonder if that's going to have an effect on this run game, and if it's going to not be as good as years past. Again, offensive line, we'll have to see how that goes. But I feel like they should have added a little bit more to this team this year to help out with this group that they have on offense, because there's some legit guys here that you're excited about, and so it's going to be a lot of pressure for Drew Petzing, the offensive coordinator, to really figure this out here. With essentially an offense that's just running it back, like there's nothing new you can do with any new players. So it's just like, okay, what can we do from last year? What can we do better? So that's essentially what it is. So I feel like that there could have been a little bit of a need to add some more pieces, whether it's up front or it's in the receiving room. If I had to pick one, I would say get somebody else in the receiver room to really, spread things out, get some speed in there, and help complement those guys like McBride, Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. Complement those guys and help them out. So I feel like that's where they could need to go and add. But I think a lot of it is going to be like, for the Cardinals, like, can this defense get to at least middle of the pack, get above average? Because it feels like they've been the bottom. They've been the bottom the last 2 years. So it feels like if they can get to that, then I think that can really help this team step up this year and really get them in a good place. But a lot of it, again, is going to be on the offense with no new weapons, nothing new to really help them out. So we'll have to see. So I don't know. This division is kind of tough to pick who would finish last place, at least for now. And talking about it as we'll go through it, maybe there's one that will pop in to my mind. But as of right now, it just feels like this can be a division where I could see like maybe 6-11, 7-10, and like that's not good. That's like 6-7 wins, but those teams are a little bit more. They're a little bit closer to being. They're hovering towards 500. Especially if you're 7-10. Because then you're just one game away from being 8-9, and then that's really close. So maybe this could be that type of division. Let's talk about the Seahawks, shall we? And let's dive into them and their off season and what they did. And let's head on over and talk about them. As far as what they did, they, of course, a few notable moves here. The one big one is adding Sam Darnold to the fold. They did make a coaching change, and this will be very impactful for the offense. And that is Clint Kubiak comes in to be the offensive coordinator for Mike Macdonald here in year 2 of his regime there. So you got him coming in. They did re-sign a couple of their own guys, Ernest Jones, Jaron Reed. They're both coming back. Ernest Jones, key piece for that defense. And then a lot of their other notable signings were outside of their team. Drew Lock is coming back to Seattle, though, after spending some time in New York. So he's back in Seattle. Marquez Valdes-Scantling joins the wide receiver room. You get the Marcus Lawrence coming in from Dallas, signing a 3-year, $33 million contract. And then 2 of the more notable ones, Cooper Kupp, who was released from the Rams, goes to Seattle, stays in the NFC West, 3 years, $45 million. And then Sam Darnold coming in at 3 years and $100 million. Some notable departures, of course, Geno Smith, that along with DK Metcalf, those are 2 really big ones right there. Tyler Lockett released. He's now a Titan, so I'm kind of excited about that. Rayshawn Jenkins, the safety, he's gone, and also Draymond Jones, another guy that joined the Titans. So a couple of Seahawks left to go to Nashville. As far as the draft, they got a first-round pick coming in to help out their interior, in which we'll dive into that. They really need some help. Gray Zabel, versatile lineman from North Dakota State, took him at 18. Then they got a couple second-rounders. 35, they trade up to take Nick Emanwori, the safety, versatile safety out of South Carolina. Then at 50, they take the tight end Elijah Aroro from Miami and add him to that receiving group. Then number 92, really interesting pick here, taking Jalen Milroe from Alabama. And then in the 5th round at 166, they take Torrey Horton, the wideout from Colorado State. So that's what the Seahawks were up to this offseason. And the best talking point to start off with this is Sam Darnold. This is going to be the key for them as to how their season is going to go. Now, Darnold was great last year. He was great last year. He had a really great play caller, too, in Kevin O'Connell. But I think if I'm remembering right, the Vikings offense wasn't necessarily a top 10 firing on all cylinders offense, even though they looked really good. They were more so like, I think, 11th or 12th or something like that. So they're on the edge right there of getting top 10, but not quite. So I think, Clint Kubiak, and that he's a big-time hire that needs to work out, and they're putting a lot of pressure on him, coming in right away and fixing things with this offense. So, and, you had Ryan Grubb come in last year, coming from the college ranks. That didn't necessarily work out all that too much. But a lot of it is going to be, can Sam Darnold be the guy that you paid for? And I think maybe those last few performances maybe took some money off the table for him. Maybe he could have gotten a little bit more if those games had not happened. But I digress. But he, rich man, proved himself last year in Minnesota. And I look at this move, and I kind of look at the moves that they made, that the Seahawks made. Maybe, I think you take a look at the trades they made, trading Geno and trading DK. I think, I'm trying to figure out because I think you can make a case that if you make either one of those trades, if you just make one of them and you don't do the other, then the offseason makes a little bit more sense. Like if you keep DK and trade Geno, then fine. Then you got DK and you let go of Lockett, you still got DK, you got JSN, and maybe you still bring in Kupp, and Kupp is on his last legs, and so you got 3 solid options there for Darnold. So maybe you do that. And then on the flip side, say you go with the DK trade. I also think it makes sense that Geno, if he stays with the moves that they made, and that they go this route. So I think if they had made either or, they make sense. It's with these moves that I'm questioning, like, okay, you take a look at the receiver core. You add Kupp. JSN is an ascending player. He was awesome last year in his second year. You take a look around that group. MVS is your only big-time deep threat. So, yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know about, this receiving group. Is just that there's a lot that I think they could have done. Maybe they don't do the Kupp move. Maybe they go and add somebody else. But Kupp is on his last legs. Who knows how much left he has in the tank? He's gotten nicked up here in the last couple years. So I don't know how much he has left to give for the Seahawks team. But I think if you're taking a look at anything, they were a pass-happy offense last year. It feels like that there's going to be a switch there where it's going to be maybe more under center, more focus on the run game, play action, and taking deep shots. But again, who's the deep threat? It's MVS, and I feel like they're really going to count on Horton to come in, who got hurt last year, and they're going to have him come in and contribute right away. So right away, there's questions there, and then the offensive line, you're banking on Abraham Lucas to get healthy, finally get healthy. Oluwatimi, he showed a little bit of something last year to show that he can belong as an NFL center, and along with Charles Cross, who was trending really well, but it feels like it's kind of stable right now. Maybe if he just trending upward again and playing at a high level, maybe you get that. And then Sable's going to play right away. I mean, I did like what they did in this draft. They attacked, I think, all the right positions in this draft. Versatile offensive lineman, versatile safety, chess piece for a defensive-minded coach, playmaking tight end, a quarterback that can be somebody that you can throw in different packages, and then a guy that can help out in the wide receiver room, probably and likely, again, right away. So I did like what they did in the draft. Zabel, again, is a guy that can be a versatile chess piece, can be a center, guard. I think he even played tackle on the pinch some at North Dakota State. Imanwori is the one I really like as far as their draft pick, because there's some Kyle Hamilton there in which Macdonald has that familiarity into how he can use him in this defense. Now, we saw Kyle Hamilton play a lot of nickel for Baltimore. Devin Witherspoon already does that for Seattle, and he's a force when he does that. It's kind of like in the Trent McDuffie, I think, kind of mold, and like he is an absolute force, a game changer, game wrecker at the nickelback spot. But then outside, he's good, but not as impactful as a player as he would be if he was in the slot. So I wonder, what's that going to be like for Seattle, and what's Macdonald going to do with that? How is he going to go about that as he implements Imanwori into his defense? I mean, listen, but they took him for a reason there at number 35. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch there, as how is Imanwori going to be deployed in this defense, and can he be an absolute dude for him? And can he be one of their best players on defense? And this defense, I think, has legitimate top 10 defense in the league aspirations. Because you take a look at this, and Macdonald is a good play caller. A lot of that is due to him. But you take a look at this defense. Leonard Williams, absolute beast last year. Byron Murphy, their first-round pick from a year ago, didn't have the sack numbers, but constantly got in the backfield. Now, can he convert those pressures into sack numbers? That'll be the key thing. And if that happens, then you got a beastly interior pass rush. And then Boye Mafe, solid edge rusher out there. You bring in DeMarcus Lawrence out there to add some juice to that edge group as well. And then you take a look at our linebacker room. Ernest Jones, good linebacker. Tyrese Knight, you hope that he can develop, and having a guy like Ernest Jones alongside him can help him. And then the secondary, Witherspoon, really good. Imanwori, you hope can be good. Julian Love is solid back there. Reek Woolen is going into a contract year, but is a guy that can go and turn over the ball, can get interceptions. So there's a lot to like about this Seattle defense, where you can see them being a top 10 unit. It wouldn't surprise anybody, I don't think. There's a world in which maybe the Seahawks offense is like top 15 or something, but the defense is top 10, and that's really what kind of gets them there. So I think if you're looking at the 2025 Seattle Seahawks, this defense, I think, if they can get into a top 10 defense, if they can become, if that's their trajectory this year, then watch out, because if you have that, then I think if you're an offense, you know that, hey, they can get the ball back if we can't do anything, and also that they can stop the other team from putting up any points, so we can do what we need to do and count our defense to go and stop the other team, turning the ball over, taking it away, shutting them down on third downs, making them punt, get good field position. I think you'd be playing with house money there. So I think that's going to be the thing. I do think a couple of benefactors of that new offense, if that's what they're going to go with, is Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I think that's going to be huge for them, and being in that type of offense, if that's what they're going to go with. So I don't know, but again, a lot of it is going to come back to how far can Sam Darnold take this team? How far can he get them? Did they make the right move and moving off of Geno and trading him to Vegas and then going this route for Sam Darnold? Was that the right move? That's going to be the key thing for Seattle in 2025. And if he can, then it's worth it. If not, well, then you're going to have some questions to ask and some not so fun conversations about, hey, was that the wrong move in trading Geno? Maybe there was a bridge burned there. Maybe there's no way they could have brought him back. Who knows? But that's going to be the key thing. I think for Seattle for 2025 is Sam Darnold. Can he be worthy of that contract? And then on the flip side, can this defense be a top 10 unit? That is something to keep an eye on. If they can be that, then you can definitely see a team where they're 11-6, 10-7, something like that. Maybe that's enough to win the division. If not, that's enough to make a wild card spot. So we shall see. But I think those are going to be the two key things to keep an eye on for Seattle for this upcoming season in 2025. So we'll have to see about what they do. Let's go to California here. Let's talk about the Rams, and we'll close out with the California teams. And let's start out with the Rams. And also, I kind of feel like these two teams are similar, and we'll kind of get into that. The Rams, take a look at what they did this offseason. No really any big coaching changes. Matthew Stafford, Alaric Jackson, they were extended to Atwell as well. 1 year, $10 million contract. So you got that extension. Coleman Shelton, who I believe had a stint in LA, he's back. Nate Landman. But the two big ones, Poona Ford, 3 years, $28 million, the defensive tackle, bring him over from the Chargers. So not too much of a change in there. Just switching teams, switching uniforms. And then also Devontae Adams. And we've talked about that, when that happened, Matt and I. So I'm sure there's a short out there on the channel. Again, be sure to go check the channel out, subscribe there so you can check that short out. So there's that move. Couple guys they lost. Again, we mentioned this earlier. They released Cooper Kupp. Bobby Brown is now with Carolina. Hunter Long, I believe, is with Jacksonville. Demarcus Robinson, he is with San Francisco now. And then Michael Hoyt, he's with Buffalo. Christian Roseboom, I believe, is with Miami now, or maybe Jacksonville. And then the last one is they traded Jonah Jackson to the Chicago Bears. Draft picks, only really three notable ones here, and they traded out the first round, which I should mention, didn't mention this, but as far as their big-time additions, as not a really team-building type of thing but for this year, but they did add a 2026 first-round pick from Atlanta and trading out the first round. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But as far as their draft picks from this year, took Jake Ferguson, but a guy I think could be a good comparison for him, Terrence Ferguson. I feel like there's some similarities there. Took Terrence Ferguson in the second round at number 46. In the third round, they took Josiah Stewart. And in the fourth round, they took the running back from Auburn, Jarquez Hunter. So to start off with the Rams, it kind of feels like to me they're playing in, with the offseason they had, they're playing in both kind of areas as to looking to the future, but also we're wanting to win now. Because you take a look at that move at adding Devontae Adams, adding Poona Ford, adding those type of guys, extending Stafford and Alaric Jackson, that's like, hey, we're ready to win now. But then also you take a look at trading out of the first round, getting Atlanta's 26 first. That's also dabbling into the future plans post-Stafford, because if I'm not mistaken, Stafford's extension is for a couple years. So there's already kind of a view to they're already looking to the horizon for the post-Stafford years with this Rams team and what it's going to look like. And next year's quarterback class is, right now it's early on, but it's looking pretty good if you need a quarterback next year. And the Rams will have 2 first-round picks to play around with, and if one falls on them, they can take them. Maybe they can package them up. But that is going to be a key pick. And they could take their guy, have him sit a year, Stafford retires after the 26th season, they got their guy ready to go for 27, and starting a different type of Rams team. So it kind of feels like they're playing in two sandboxes right here. They're wanting to win now, but they're wanting to look to the future and getting prepared for what this team is going to look like going forward, post Stafford. So it does look like Stafford is going to be back, for a couple years, and then it's just like, okay, where do we go now? So that's, I think, kind of what they're looking at, and I think it's a smart move, I think, for them, and getting that first round pick from Atlanta, I think is huge, and we don't know where that pick is going to fall. It could be a top 10 pick for all we know, or it could be a pick that's in the teens or the 20s, but either way, that's a nice piece to add to your war chest. Say like, hey, you never know what's going to happen. It's a long season, so. But I think they did a decent job of kind of playing in both sandboxes right there. We talked a little bit again, Matt and I, about Davante Adams going to the Rams, what it's going to do. So I don't know how much time we'll spend on that, but I think I was more high on it than Matt was at the time, and I can understand why, because Davante Adams is getting a little bit older, even though he's still an impactful player. So I think bringing back Tutu Atwell to really kind of help stretch the field out, kind of like what I wish Arizona had done. I think that was a smart move in bringing him back and really helping things out with that group. But I'm excited to see what Adam Stafford and Nakua are going to look like within Sean McVay's offense, and also Kyron Williams. Offensive line, I kind of wish they'd done a little bit more. Besides Coleman Shelton and re-signing Jackson, Havenstein's getting on up there. Avila is good, but and then you got a second-year guy at center. So I kind of wish they'd done a little bit more there with the offensive line. But I guess, and listen, if you have a chance to add Davante Adams, why not go for it? Even though he's at this age now, the guy is he's still good. So. I understand that kind of motion right there to go and make that type of move. I also feel like another move they could have made, and this can be kind of our shift to the defense, who had a really good second half of the season last year, and was up there with some of the best defenses in the NFL. But just their secondary, I feel like there could have been some more moves made there. Whether it's trade, we just had Jalen Ramsey traded by, that's pretty recent. Also, there are some mid-tier corners out there in free agency that I feel like they could have added to their group and kind of help make this secondary a little bit more passable, a little bit more average. They were not that great last year. You got some older guys in Darius Williams, Cam Curl's getting a little bit on up there too. Quentin Lake, you got Cam Kinchins heading into a second year. I feel like there could have been something more added to that secondary. I think maybe one thing that can help is this beastly pass rush up front. This group up front in this front seven, they are young, but they are hungry and they are fierce. Last year, they were amazing. Jared Verse, as a rookie, led the league in quarterback pressures with 89, and that's a notable thing considering how many great pass rushers are in this league, how many got paid this offseason. Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Watt is out there. There's some guys that got paid this offseason, and this guy was up there as far as QB pressures as a rookie, no less. So he was great. Braden Fisk was really good. His running mate from Florida State, they were great. And then you also had, Kobe Turner, Byron Young, guys they drafted here in the last 2-3 years. They kept on improving, and they were forces to be reckoned with, Kobe especially. So the post-Aaron Donald landscape for this defense is looking pretty solid. We weren't sure about that because you lose a guy like that, and you're like, what's next? It feels like this front seven is on a really strong trajectory to be a fierce, a formidable pass rush in the NFC and in the NFL. Because, again, they were one of the better defenses in the second half of the season last year. They were on the upswing. It's just a matter of can you bring that into this season and can they maintain that for a full season instead of just being a second half type of thing. If they can do that, then I mean, watch out because Verse I think is only going to get better. Fisk is Young, Turner. They both are. I think they will definitely get better. Josiah Stewart I think will play a factor in this front seven. Puna Ford I think is going to help. Really eat up space, eat up blocks, for those guys to wreak havoc and have some one-on-ones. So I think that's really going to help out this front seven. And they're really, I think, going to lean on this front seven, especially now with knowing you're probably going to have 2 years with Stafford. You're going to lean on the play calling abilities of Sean McVay and his ability to call an offense, but also having a front seven that will get after you and that will be relentless. So I think all in all, you take a look at the Rams. Again, they did well in playing in both sandboxes, looking to the future while also being in a win now type of mindset with the moves they made. So I think they're really set up to be, I think, probably the favorite in this division right now, if I had to say so, with what's happened with them this offseason. But I like what they did this offseason. And listen, if Terrence Ferguson can become a player at tight end, then that's another weapon McVay can use and create fun plays and designs for to get him the ball, and just adds another weapon for Stafford to help him out. Kyron Williams is going to be good again. I think the offense line is again is a little bit of a question mark, but we'll see. And they could have gotten more in the secondary, but it's hard to not like what they did this all season. So I think the Rams are in a good place right now. And right now in their win now mode, and also looking to the future, whether it's finding a quarterback next year's draft or in a couple years from now, post Stafford. Again, ideally they want to find their guy in next year's draft, have him sit behind Stafford, get a year in the system, and have him ready to go in 27. Ideally, but not again. How many ideal things happen? We haven't ideally we want this to happen, but not always the case. So, but that is the LA Rams, and let's close up shop, everybody, with San Francisco 49ers. Team that we talked about up top was a bona fide contender in this conference, bona fide Super Bowl contender as well. And last year was a season they'd like to forget, where it was just injury after injury after injury. And I gotta say, I don't think that's going to be the case this year. It feels like that it's an anomaly, and that it's going to be fine this year, where you're not going to have many injuries. You'll have some guys get hurt, but it won't be like last year. You do have some guys that are coming off of injury. McCaffrey, we'll have to see where he's at coming into training camp and all that stuff. Ayuk, when is he going to come back in the regular season? I believe he got hurt in October, so we'll have to see if he, when he comes back. I did read where it sounds like he's making good progress, so there is hope there. But the injuries were a big part as to why they were where they were last year, kind of falling off and being in a place that they hadn't been before. And so they're also a team like the Rams that are kind of like looking to the future, but also wanting to try to go and win immediately and get back to their winning ways and not be like the team they were last year. And, but they were also a team that a little bit hamstrung with what they could do. And also a lot of it was extending their own guys. Going into the additions and extensions, they extended Brock Purdy to around a Jared Goff type of deal. I think that's really big, and that he's not getting a Dak type of deal. So you extend him, you extend George Kittle, Fred Warner, Kyle Juszczyk, so you extend all them. You also signed Luke Farrell, Mac Jones, which I think is funny because weren't the 49ers and Shanahan once upon a time years ago looking to maybe draft Mac with that number 3 pick? So I think that's kind of funny. And then DeMarcus Robinson. staying in division. Coaching changes, bring them up really quickly. On the defense side of the ball, a couple really big ones. Robert Saleh, who was the Jets head coach, was let go, is now back with the 49ers. So that's really huge for this defense as they get a little bit younger. And then Gus Bradley is the head assistant on defense. So two really smart defensive minds in the building for the 49ers. Also, Clay Kubiak was promoted to offensive coordinator. And I think it's really fun that you got two Kubiaks being offensive coordinators in this division. I think that's really fun. That's a nice little fun side thing with this division, with those two. Among the guys they lost this offseason, a lot of these guys were guys that were hurt, getting expensive, getting older, and maybe that's why, hey, you move off them and try to reset everything, and you maybe take some lumps, but they did lose Dre Greenlaw, who's now in Denver, Travarius Ford, who's now in Indy, Aaron Banks is now with Green Bay, Talanoa Hufanga is with Denver as well, Jalen Moore signed a kind of shocking contract with the Chiefs, Javon Hargrave, Elijah Mitchell, Leonard Floyd, and then they traded Deebo Samuel to Washington. So this is a new type of era for San Francisco. A lot of those key guys on those Super Bowl and NFC Championship teams, they're now gone. Deebo's now in Washington. Greenlaw was a good running mate for Warner. Ward had a couple good years in San Francisco. Hufanga is gone. Hargrave really helped out there. But they're now gone. And they're now gone, and this is kind of a new, different type of era for San Francisco, in which a lot of those guys from those teams are not there anymore. You got guys like Kittle, and you got guys like Trent Williams, Nick Bosa is still there. Ayuk is still here. But it's a lot of new faces. The one constant is Shanahan, and I think that, if you're looking at it from an offensive perspective, as long as he's calling plays, you feel good about it. I kind of take a look at it, as far as like, if you got a defensive head coach, you're probably going to have to change your offensive system, considering if your offensive coordinator is good, chances are he's probably going to get a head coaching job eventually. But if you're offensive head coach, you don't have to really have to worry about changing anything with your system. It's just going to be the players you bring in. That's going to be the thing to keep in mind. So you take a look at them. I hadn't even got to what they did in the draft, but as far as the draft, restocking that defense, 5 of their first 6 picks were on defense. Michael Williams, they took him at 11, the edge rusher from Georgia. Alfred Collins, stay in the SEC, get the defensive tackle from Texas. Nick Martin, Oklahoma State, linebacker in the 3rd round. Also in the 3rd round, cornerback Upton Stout from Western Kentucky. And then in the 4th, C.J. West, defensive tackle from Indiana. So it's kind of like what Arizona did, in that they really addressed their needs on defense, and that they kind of need to. There kind of needs to be a reset and getting younger. And ensure you are going to lose some talented guys, but with the way that things have gone for them, eventually this is going to happen, I think. And this is going to be a year in which I think this defense is going to take their lumps. Adding so many new guys, I think a lot of these guys are going to be playing right away, especially those front 7 guys. Michael Collins, West, I think they're going to be playing right away. Nick Martin, I think, has a chance to as well. So those guys are going to be seeing immediate playing time and expected to help out. Will there be some, rookie walls? Sure. That's to be expected, I think. So, but you're going to have to take those with you. And in 26, hope that pay dividends and that they're in a really good place with this defense. But as far as the 49ers, though, if this is a gap year, can they really afford that? And can they really afford it, considering Kittle is 32, Trent Williams is 37? Like, you don't know how long you have left with those guys. And yes, the 49ers feel like they're a team that wants to win now. You got Purdy, McCaffrey, Kittle, Williams, uh, Bosa, you got Shanahan. It feels like they want to win now, but also at the same time, you're in the space where, you're kind of hamstrung by the lack of flexibility that you have and being able to make roster moves. Like, again, just take a look at what they did this offseason. A lot of it was extending their own guys. And really signing Farrell, Jones, and Robinson. That was it. Those are short deals. So, can they really afford that heading into 2025? It's going to be difficult. I don't know how much Kittle and Trent Williams would love that, but it's just kind of where this team is right now. So, as a Niner fan, I don't know how you're feeling, but there's kind of, I would guess, some kind of mixed feelings. Like, you're excited about the young players and you know that they'll take a while, but you're also like, well, we still have some of these guys from that and those dominant teams we had back then. Why not go and make a run? And we still have Shanahan as our play caller. Why not? So, I don't know. I think for 49er fans, might be a little bit of mixed feeling there. But, that's just me kind of talking out loud and thinking about it, But the approach, I do kind of like it that you're playing in both. But it's just like this Niners team is not where the Rams, they're not where the Rams are right now. They're not where the Rams are right now at this point. With playing in those two boxes, but you take a look at this team, and just taking a look at it from a whole, you're just really kind of wondering again how long do those two guys in Kittle and Williams have, and because listen, life without them is going to happen, sooner rather than later. So there's going to have to be some moves made with those guys as well. And I still think the offense will still be good. You'll still have McCaffrey and Ayuk and Pearsall, and maybe you're able to get another tight end and get another left tackle here soon. But you're going to be without those guys here pretty soon. They don't have long to play, So it's just like, I think it's another thing with the players. Like, how do you feel about the state of this team where you might have to take a gap year when just 3-4 years ago you were a top team, and you feel like last year was just a year that was a blip, an asterisk, where you had so many guys hurt. So I don't know, I like to wonder, I like to ask like how they're feeling about that. But you take a look at what they did this offseason. It's all about retooling the defense, and maybe next year when there's a little bit more flexibility, they can do something like helping out the offensive line, because that's something that I feel like that could have been addressed, and maybe because of the lack of space as far as money is concerned, maybe they couldn't. But the offensive line is still the same, but he did lose Aaron Banks, so somebody's going to have to fill in for him at guard. It's just, I feel like offensive line should have been addressed here in the last couple off seasons, and it should have been addressed here, and it hasn't. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But I feel like some additions should have been made here. But I have to see. Maybe it's next offseason. Maybe it's offseason. They're like, hey, we took care of the defense. Let's go get some offensive line help. Let's go, upgrade this and really get to a place where we like it and can protect Brock, can get this run game with CMC going and have that be really strong and fortify that. Maybe that's the case, but I feel like that's something that could have been done here. Secondary took a little bit of a hit losing those guys, and Funga and Ward. So you don't know about that. And maybe Hope Stout can come in and play right away. But I feel like really all those guys they drafted, those front seven guys, I think they're going to see some time right away. So we'll have to see with this Niners team. I don't know what to expect from them. I still think offensively they'll be pretty good. A lot of it does depend on CMC and Ayuk when they come back and how healthy they are. And then the defense, I do think having Salah and and Bradley, I think having those two will help, especially with these young guys. I think that will help having those two in the room that know how to call a defense and can get the most out of their players when they're coaching that side of the ball. I think that can help Michael. I think that can help Alfred Collins. I think that can help Nick Moore and CJ West. I think that can help all of them. And help this defense as a whole really just kind of take a step up and really improve off of last season. So, I don't know. But again, I do like the 49ers and just dipping in both boxes, but they're just in a different place than the Rams are as far as being able to do that. So, for the 49ers, I think just like seeing what this defense is, seeing how the young guys come along, I think is something to keep an eye on. And this year, can somebody step up and be a real formidable piece on this defense where you look at it and say, hey, we can build around these guys? And then offensively, it's just, how long can you keep on going? You don't have Debo in there, so that's the other thing. No Debo in there, so this wide receiver group is taking a little bit of a hit too because Ayuk is banged up. Your Jennings still there. Pearsall's there. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect for the 49ers. I do think on offense they'll be good, but it's just defense. I think that's going to be the thing to keep an eye on with this team. It's just like, can the young players on defense, can they get a role? Can they find a role? And can they contribute early? Because I think they're going to be asked to. So we shall see for the 49ers. Everybody, that's gonna do it. That's gonna put a bow on the NFC West. And next time, we'll keep in the NFC and we'll go to the NFC South and talk about those teams. So, everybody, thank you so much for your time. Fun as always to do this and rolling along with these previews. And we'll be doing college here shortly. So, everybody, take care. Again, be sure to go subscribe to YouTube, podcasting platforms. Check all those out. And until next time, everybody, we'll talk to you soon.